Hey, it's training camp week. I don't know why I did it like that. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. We're happy you're here. I'm happy we're here. I'm Jay, too. Greg, Mario.
Let's
Lawrence.
talk some Bears.
Hello. What? No.
We're here to break down the Bears' offensive line.
Kyle Davidson needs to draft more offensive linemen.
Would you trade Connor Bedard for an entire offensive line?
Hey, that question's coming.
Oh, good. Well, it is Mailbag Monday. We're going to get to that, of course, as we always do. We appreciate
Mailbag Monday of the offseason.
It is.
No, that was the last.
Yeah,
Mailbag.
last week's was the last one officially.
Now
because they started Tom Kurvers.
That doesn't count.
Okay, well, we need to make these distinctions before we say last off-season mailbag.
No, last week we didn't say it. We said
we did.
We said
last of the off-season.
We said last of non-hockey weeks.
So if it's a hockey week, but it's still the off-season?
Right. They played hockey, but it's still the off-season.
But training camp starts on Thursday.
Right. That's when the off-season ends.
This is very important.
No, we're in season. We're in season.
In mid-season semantics.
I wasn't at the rink today. We weren't in season.
Fair enough. All right. Last official off-season mailbag show.
Screw it. Last mailbag ever.
No, we can't do that. Absolutely not. How are we going to get through our summers?
It's too problematic.
Well, thanks for being here, everybody.
Nation,
oh, yeah.
2 weeks. We'll need to bring it back.
Do us a favor. Hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube page as well. Podcast listeners, follow, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. We'd appreciate that. Before we get to the mailbag, thanks for the thumbs down, pal. We are going to get to some news. We've got a little bit of a news update on the CHSN front. If you missed our show Friday, I know Friday you get busy, you forget about it. We had Jeff Agris on from the Sun Times. Really, really great. We got a ton of great feedback on that episode.
Yeah.
With the latest at that time on what's happening with CHSN. We got a little bit of breaking news during the show from the Blackhawks that they are going to air the first preseason game on Blackhawks.com, and they're working on carriage for the other two. Mm-hmm. But the news we got today was that they have reached that deal with the broadcast channels, the old school antenna channels.
Hey,
over the air broadcast channels. So if you have a high definition antenna, channel 62.2 and 62.3 on your FM dial, you'll be able to find everything CHSN.
Yeah, and that's through WYJS, which I think is in, I don't remember if it was Hammond specifically, but it's in Northwest Indiana, and then also emits a signal from the Sears Tower top. When it's not doing Jason Goff gender reveals, it's broadcasting those channels.
What a flex, man.
I know.
That was pretty sick.
Insane.
I hate gender reveals, but I'll allow that one.
Yeah, that was cool.
I mean, if someone's
got some pull in this city.
Someone responded like that, we should now just cancel all the rest of gender reveals.
We should anyway. We should have before that, but definitely now.
If you can't do that, you're done.
You win.
But yeah, so if you're in the Chicagoland area, if you're within, I think those high-reaching antennas are like 65-ish miles of range. So if you're within that range of Northwest Indiana or downtown Chicago, you should be able to get those channels through those antennas. Again, we have no information about YouTube, Xfinity, Comcast, Hulu, any of that yet. We're getting questions on Twitter and stuff. I keep relaying it back to our conversation with Jeff, because outside of the over the air getting done, that's as much pertinent information as I think we could try and provide at this time. And I still think that as we get closer to October 1st, more of these things will get done. As we said last week, there always seems to be a way that these things get done just in time. So we'll see what happens.
And the Hawks are hard at work, and all those teams are hard at work getting it done. It is obviously of more priority to the Hawks and Bulls right now because their seasons are Sox season's over, even though it's not,
Yeah.
But the Hawks and Bulls have seasons beginning.
Right.
All those games will be done by the end of September for the White Sox, and they're all going to be on NBC Chicago.
Yeah.
So next season for them doesn't start till February.
But I will say, for those of you out of town, I know someone said I think Evil Bills, I know he's out of town. If you got Hawks games on ESPN Plus before, you'll still get that. You're still going to get that. So it's, it's not going to, the only people this is really changing for is the local audience. That's what they need to figure out. I mean, if you're on
those
ESPN,
people matter.
Right. Who cares, right? So I know it's frustrating, but know they're working. And look, the fact that they're making it free over the air for you, they want you to see their product. They're doing their best.
If you live in the city area or surrounding suburbs, if you go to Target or Best Buy or wherever, you get like one of those digital antennas. I bought one when I lived in the city, 10 years ago, and it was $20.
Yeah.
You got all the channels. So if you throw down $20, $30, $40, get one of those converters, digital antennas, and it just plugs right into the back of your TV, you'll get the channel. And that's much cheaper than however per month any other service is. And I don't know, is it going to be a long-term over-the-air solution? I don't know. But if it's just this year for $40 for an antenna to be like, I'm going to get all the local games, it's worth it.
And Anthony says ESPN Plus doesn't carry all the games. It carries all the games that are locally broadcast. So if it's on what was NBC Sports Chicago, ESPN Plus will have it. If it's on ESPN or TNT, they will not have it.
Right.
That's not changing. Whether if you get CHSN, it's going to be the same.
And there's 13 national broadcasts this year. 15 national broadcasts this year. So you're still getting 67 local broadcasts. And then, if you have ESPN Plus, like if you have YouTube TV or Hulu Live or whatever it is, you should still have ESPN and TNT available to you.
And doesn't ESPN, if it's an ESPN game, ESPN Plus has it too, right?
Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and the
so
ESPN,
it's really only the TNT
and
games.
the ESPN2 games, because I know there's at least 2 of them this year that are ESPN2.
Right. And even the ABC national games should still be on the ESPN app.
The Majestic American Woodcock says, I just want to watch hockey. Why is that so hard? It's difficult whenever there's big money involved, and there is big money involved in this. It's going to be complicated, but I would just rest assured, based on what Jeff Agrest told us and based on what we've been hearing from the organization, like they're doing their best to get this done as quickly and cleanly as they can. Would you have liked them to get this started a little bit sooner? Yes, probably. The NBC deal ending this year was not a surprise. Everybody knew it was coming. But the fact that they're basically making it available to you for free by putting it over the air, that's a pretty solid gesture by them.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying to Greg before the show, I mean, I mean this as no disrespect to CHSN, but for a major network, local network, you'd want to be more prepared for a bigger production than being on channel 62.2 and 62.3. So yeah, I think if they had more runway to figure this all out, we wouldn't be running into these issues potentially, but nothing you can do about it now.
I mean, to be fair to them, they're on DirecTV. It's just a matter of what provider you have, right? And they'll figure it out with Xfinity. That's what they do.
It would all work out, and by game 4, no one's going to even remember that this was an issue. If they're smart, they get on Comcast, they just slide them on the same channel that NBC Sports is, and majority of people won't even know it's different.
Yeah. And Jason says, would a VPN work with NHL Network or ESPN Plus? Asking from Iowa, considering the locally blacked out region.
That would be illegal to use, so I will not recommend it on the air. But if you don't need.
If you're watching, Jason,
if you're watching, which you obviously are.
Yeah, you have your answer.
Yes. I mean, I don't know.
Not that we condone that.
No, it is totally illegal.
Yes, and we do not like illegalities.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. We should also talk a little bit about the Tom Kurvers Prospects Showcase that happened this weekend, and 2 oddly filmed, grainy, weird internet games.
It is what it is.
But we talked about it all week, and we said we want to see the following people look good. And the person at the top of that list was Frank Nazar, and guess who looked really, really good?
Frank Nazar.
Frank Nazar, not only scoring a goal, but taking a massive hit to make a play. And I love after the game, he's like, hey, man, if you want to be an idiot and hit me so I can spring a guy in a breakaway, I will take that hit every time. I love the swag he's got. He's fearless. I just love his game.
They must have been chirping him right from that, from the hit. From the hit, because as soon as they scored, he got up and like turned around and was like, yeah, what were you saying? What were you saying? Yeah.
I can't hear you behind my flowing locks.
Stevie Leskovar was the guy. He was a menace in that game.
Not gonna work here anymore anyway.
But I mean, he was going out of his way all night long to make hits, and the Blackhawks finally were like, okay, Nikita Zadorov, light. We're gonna go score.
Future Iowa Wild third pairing guy.
And as I said, I hung out in the Discord, the Die Hard Discord, during that game, and as I said in there, man, the Iowa Wild / Minnesota prospects, perennial pudwax.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of goons.
I feel like it's always the Wild prospects games that somebody gets hurt at this thing. What was it, a few years ago? Reichel got hurt. Doc got hurt.
Doc was
both of them,
and that was back up in when they were still doing Traverse City, but it was still against the Wild.
Well, Colton got one, and Kirby too.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just like I feel like it's always the game against the Wild that they're just like, I don't know. Future Wild and Blackhawks games should have some feistiness to them. From
Rockford, Iowa,
from this prospect tournament.
For many years, Rockford and Iowa have had that type of game every game, because it's what happens when you play each other 27 times a season. Yeah. You start to not like each other, especially when you smell bad, like the Iowa Wild players.
Is that guy still on the Wild?
Oof.
I don't know.
Stinky guy.
I remember his name.
Who else stood out to you guys? I thought Ludwinski looked real good. I think Del Mastro, aside from whiffing on a breakaway shot.
I had that game on in the living room, and Stacy was watching with me, and when that happened, and she was like, "Oh my God, cut that guy!" I'm like, to be fair, that's a defenseman.
Yeah, there's probably a foot of snow on the ice too, right there.
And it was like, that's probably the first time that's ever happened to him in a game, and he blew it. But AJ Spellacy is a kid that got a lot of hype in the couple of days at camp. Anders Sorensen was high on him. He was all over the ice. Yeah. He's a type of kid that we'll talk about him during the mailbag portion, but great first showing. He could take that with him back to the OHL and build off of knowing that, like, hey, I can hang with the AHL level, so I'm going to go dominate the OHL level. There were Colton Doc, the first game was very noticeable. You could tell he got the message about
he sure did.
You need to be a physical player. Yeah. Second game, didn't notice him as much.
Yeah.
Which again has been kind of his problem. Got to do, but again, 2 exhibition games, playing back-to-back nights. All right, fine, but not too encouraging. If he played like he did in that first game, he got into a fight. He almost had the prediction of my Gordie Howe hat trick. He tried, but overall, it was a good performance. Drew Comezzo, gave up 4 in that loss, but really only 1 bad goal. The last one,
one probably he'd like to have back.
The one he would like to have back. Yes, thanks for remembering that. Were the 3 goals in regulation were all from defensemen with traffic in front. Yeah. 2 of them he didn't even see until it was behind him. So
that was my one little thing is like, boy, there's a lot of traffic in front of the net. And I think part of that is you're missing a couple guys, right? Your higher end defensive prospects, and these guys are playing together really for the first time, and it's more of a communication thing. But a lot of the time, the Hawks goaltenders were screened with a lot of traffic in front of them. So. I mean, that's the one thing I noticed. I was kind of like, can we clean this up a little bit? But it's a prospect showcase.
Right, yeah.
Nick Lardis had the goal.
A good goal.
the first goal, and that's a goal that I have seen a lot of times him score before.
Yeah.
From below the dot on the power play. That is something that's kind of his move, and they set him up perfectly, and he buried it. So
It was a great pass by Nazar too.
Yeah.
if you read the rebuild report last season, you saw Mario post that exact goal probably about 13 or 14 times.
A lot of Nick Lardis goals. Yeah. I mean, I think the idea that the guys that we wanted to see play well all did. Ludwinski was making some really good plays. Him and Landon Slager connected on a shorthanded goal. Like, that was really good to see. Those are two guys that I feel like, being fast, being aggressive on the forecheck and killing penalties, that's what's going to get you to the NHL. So good to see them like kind of fill into those roles. And yeah, it was a good showing. You'd like to go 2-0, but 1-0-1, it's okay.
All right, we're going to get
3 points are 3 points.
That's right. We'll get to your mailbag questions here in a moment on CHGO Blackhawks.
Hey, if you're in the market for a bigger veal, find savings to match at Ray Chevrolet this September, because truck and SUV month is going on right now. Head in today to shop their huge selection of new Chevy models at new low prices. Right now, take up to $3,000. Take three up to $12,000 off MSRP. That's awkwardly worded on most new Chevy models. We're cruising the fall your own way and shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. Is one of the top selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest. You'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories. Visit our partner this December on Route 12 in Fox Lake or at raychevrolet.com. And if you heard of Ray Chevrolet, then you've also heard of Ray's Price Promise. They're guaranteed to make your next vehicle more affordable than ever with no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees ever. That means the incredible prices we're talking about right now, you can expect to see the very same when you shop Ray Chevy in-store or online. Shop truck and SUV month all month long by visiting Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive.
And if you're looking for a big truck or SUV, it might be to haul all those giant Factor meal kits back to your residence. Warm, sunny days are here. They're going to continue to be here. I need some rain in the forecast. But hey, for those warm and sunny days, you can fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meal kits. Meet your wellness goals thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. So what are you waiting for? With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. You can crush your wellness goals every month with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. And you can keep kitchen time to a minimum because Factor meals are ready in 2 minutes with no shopping, no prepping, no cooking, and no cleaning up. So I love that too. Head over to factormeals.com/CHGOHawks and use the code CHGOHawks50 to get 50% off of your first box plus 20% off of your next month. Again, that's code CHGOHawks50 at factormeals.com/CHGOHawks50. So you do that twice, and you're going to get 50% off of your first box plus 20% off of your next month while your subscription is active.
Do that. They're good.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy those.
Tasty.
All right. Let us begin the mailbag segment.
You want to go to the mailbag?
Yeah, let's do it.
That's why we're here.
We finally, in our first Mailbag Monday of the season, what are we calling this?
I don't know.
We got video responses from our diehards in the Discord.
Ask 4 times and ye shall receive.
Nice.
Yeah. So our first one is going to be from our good friend Windy City Hockey. So without further ado, here we go.
All right, I'm testing the final mailbag of the off-season with a video question. Since this weekend was the Tom Kurvers Showcase, what Blackhawk prospect stood out to you most while watching the broadcast on the streams? In person, I saw AJ Spellacy turn on the wheels a lot. Colton Dock using his body quite a bit, and Frank Nazar in Game 2 showed how much of an NHL talent he can be. What prospect besides like Nazar, Slager, Spellacy, and Dock really stood out to you? And thank you for doing all these during the off season.
Love that from Windy
Thank
City
you,
Hockey.
Windy City.
Almost as much as I love the free gummy bears it brings us. We appreciate that.
Almost.
All right, so aside from the guys we've already talked about, I said this last week when we saw them getting ready for this tournament, that Nolan Allen just has this maturity about him in his game.
Yeah.
Where you'll see a lot of these young guys, like, they look a little frantic. They look like they're kind of, the game's a million miles an hour. They're trying to make a good impression. And then Nolan Allen's out there just calmly controlling the puck, getting it out of the zone, finishing checks. His game looks more mature than a lot of the other guys. I would say the same, maybe to a slightly lesser extent, about Ethan Del Mastro. But Nolan Allen is just smooth and steady out there, man. He looks like a vet. And, well, we'll get to that. I know there's a question later about that, so I'll save it. But I was just really impressed with, not like he was blasting slap shots and popping water bottles or laying people out or anything, but he just looks so calm and so ready when he's out there on the ice. I'm really looking forward to watching him this preseason, because I do think there is an outside chance he could get some time this year.
Yeah, I think he's probably not as hyped up to, potentially make the roster as a guy like Wyatt Kaiser and Ethan Del Mastro are, because both of those guys have played in the NHL, whereas Nolan Allen hasn't had that opportunity yet. But yeah, I think he's one of those guys that it's just, he's not going to light up the score sheet, but there's something to be said for being a guy who can be steady, who can be relied upon, who can, has good mobility, can move the puck well. You can be really effective defensively without having to, be a Erik Karlsson type of guy putting up crazy numbers. And honestly, Erik Karlsson not too great defensively, just happens to play defense. So yeah, I think Nolan Allen can get into that role. I know we compare a lot of guys to Nick Dromelson, who are physical, use their body to block shots and lay hits and stuff, but I feel like Nolan Allen has that in him, in his game. And yeah, I mean, if you can always be a net positive as a defenseman, like at any level, that's going to take you a long way, even if you're not putting up huge numbers statistically.
Yeah, I mean, you need guys like Nolan Allen, especially if guys like Levshunov and Korchinski become those offensive minded players you're hoping they do. You need those sure stay-at-home guys that can cover the ice for when those guys do activate and join the rush. A guy like Nolan Allen, a guy like Ethan Del Mastro that fits that that mold of what you need, like the perfect pairing for those offensive-minded defensemen. A guy that impressed me more the second game than the first game, I thought he improved big time, was Ty Henry, another defenseman.
Yeah.
He,
7th round pick
he was
this year.
he was 6th round pick this past year. 163rd overall. Just 18, but another big kid on a defensive blue line. He'll be back in the queue this year. I'm sorry, OHL, Erie Otters. But you could tell there was some nerves that first game, but the second game against the Wild, he looked a lot more confident, was mixing it up after the whistle a lot, defending his teammates. So
he's another kid that's got a big frame that is going to take some time to fill out, but when he does, I mean, hey.
That was the funny thing watching the broadcast. I think it was the first night, because they kind of mixed the broadcast. Our buddy Mike Folta from the Ice Hogs was on it with the Blues announcing crew, and then the Iowa Wild guy the second. I think it was with the Blues crew, the one guy, I think Joe Vitale is who it was like, yeah, looking at your roster sheet, and I looking at all these forwards, and it's 5'11", 5'10", 5'11", and I get to the defense 6'3", 6'5", 6'4".
Yeah.
It's like, that's how you do it. You put the big boys at the back end and let them hunt. And I don't have high hopes for Ty Henry, a 6th round pick. Usually, if you get any even AHL games, a 6th round pick, you can consider that a successful pick. But I just like, as those guys that aren't the headline grabbers, I think he improved really well from game 1 to game 2.
Another guy who had a better game 2 than in game 1, seemed more engaged, was Martin Mijak in game 2. And I think he's another one that's, a guy that could potentially, if he tops out, could be one of those center options that has a bigger frame and can do a little bit of everything, a little bit of offensive talent. I think it's just with a lot of these young guys, when they get to the professional level, it's what can you do consistently. But he had a better game 2 than game 1, so that was good to see from him.
All right, let's go on to the next video question.
Let's do it. This one comes from across the pond from our friend Alexandra.
Oh, nice.
Hey guys, question for the mailbag since Lo asked for a video. Would you guys trade/accept a Bedard career with the Hawks without the Cubs if Jerry Reinsdorf sold the Bulls, the White Sox, and if Caleb Williams won 2 Super Bowls with the Bears? Thanks, guys.
No. Screw those teams.
I don't cover those 3 teams. I don't care.
Figure out your own crap.
I want to cover Connor Bedard and Stanley Cups. I don't care if the White Sox or Bulls ever get good or if the Bears win a Super Bowl, because that does not affect my daily life.
I will say the Bears affect my daily life. A bad Bears game will ruin my day.
I mean,
yeah.
And a Super Bowl run by the Bears would be very good for this company.
Yes.
2 Super Bowl runs.
2,
Yes.
1 would
In
be
the
great.
question,
2 would be
yeah.
awesome. I still want to keep Connor Bedard because I'm selfish. I'm a selfish jerk.
I agree. But yeah, last night I was crabby as hell. It was like, God, that game was so frustrating.
It seemed like I've seen that movie
Run
once
a
or twice
slant
before.
once.
Yeah. Mondays are worse when your football team is trash.
Yeah, it sucks.
When your NFL and college football teams are trash, it makes your Mondays even worse.
Well, my college team had a bit of a bounce back this weekend.
I'm having a bad Monday.
It beat Purdue 67-7.
The mighty
Oh,
Purdue
good.
Boilermakers.
It's like,
You need that after kicking it to
Yeah.
Northern
I think,
Illinois.
I think the Purdue basketball team would have had a better chance of beating Notre Dame.
perhaps they might have.
Braggs would have been out there running slants on one leg.
Oh, what a concept. Can we get one more in here before the break zone?
Yeah, let's do a quick one here.
All right.
Let's see. Is there this seems like an easy one. From Liz. Again, this is from our diehards in the Discord. Is there a list of what prospects who in general will be at training camp? Some easy place to find that?
They usually will send that out. I would say
Certain
probably Wednesday.
Next day
I
or
would
two.
say pretty much everyone who was at Tom Kurvers will be there for the first week of camp.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anybody
you know.
who was a draft pick or is an AHL player.
And yeah.
There might be a handful of guys that,
Whoever wasn't like a prospect invite
yeah.
should be at training camp for at least the first week.
Yeah. Some of those guys will be there. They'll probably, a guy like AJ Spellacy
Yeah, he'll be there.
and Misiak, well, they'll be there. They'll probably put him in one of those first couple of games.
Probably the first game.
Let them play one preseason game and then send them back to their OHL clubs. But anybody who played, with Rockford last year or was going to play at Rockford this year, obviously they'll all be there. But I would assume in the next day or two, they'll give us that whole training camp roster.
Well, it starts on Thursday, so I would hope that we know.
Yeah, I
by
think
then.
Wednesday is the official start of training camp, whereas I think that's the physical day.
Oh, yeah.
So they probably put the roster together
Orientation
then.
day.
Yeah, that's where,
Syllabus day.
go ride the bike and puke. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
Sign away your life.
When you guys get that roster, will you forward it to me?
I
Sure.
will.
Thank
I'll
you.
make sure.
I'd appreciate that very, very much. That would be nice.
Hey-
By the way, sorry. With the on ice stuff starting Thursday, it is open to the public, but you do need to reserve a ticket.
Mhm.
It's free, but if you know you're coming, go to the Hawks website, reserve your spot. Just because there's just limited seating there, so they're not going to allow 10,000 people in there and then turn people away. So
and
get a ticket now if you're going, and it'll be easy. Again, it costs nothing. It's basically just an RSVP more than anything.
and don't park in the lot for the Fifth Third.
Yeah, that's
please don't.
Please don't.
For us, don't park there. Go park down the street.
All right, before we get to the break zone, Change the Logo asked, would you rather win a cup with one Bedard-sized duck or 50 duck-sized Bedards?
Ooh, 50 duck-sized Bedards.
I mean, it's not that big of a
adorable.
difference.
Yeah, I mean, which duck are we talking about? Trevor Zegras, Mason McTavish.
That's true.
More Bedards are better.
50
Bedard-
50 duck-sized Bedards would be fun.
A duck-sized, or yeah, Yeah, a duck-sized Bedard would be, and 50 of them would be awesome.
Just all quacking about the Bears.
Just be going through everybody's legs and like.
I would enter them in every single one of those rubber duck races in the river. Every single one.
Exactly.
I'd be undefeated.
Well, more mind melters like this coming up next on CHGO Blackhawks.
Depth hockey analysts.
But we want to remind you that with everything going on that is causing us stress in life, from your football's offensive line to your third pairing in the Prospect Showcase to social media to elections, whatever it might be, it's no wonder we're more worked up than ever. Sometimes it's good to choose chill, and when you do, reach for a Coors Light. It is mountain cold refreshment. When those mountains turn blue on your Coors Light, it's as cold as the Rockies. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. So when you embrace a chill mindset, it's a good time to choose chill and crack open a Coors Light. Crisp and refreshing as the Colorado Rockies make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door right now with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/CHGO Hockey. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Well, we had our false fall for a couple of days last week, and now we're back to summer part 2. It's going to last a while. And no matter what the temperature is, if the sun is out, you want a pair of Shady Rays on your head. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with their premium polarized shades that don't break the bank. Shady Rays is our favorite independent sunglasses, offering you a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all your outdoor adventures. They have hundreds of options to choose from, different styles and colors of frames. You can even get different colors lenses thrown in your frames, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. Plus, if your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection of all eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. And if you don't love your shades, but you're going to, but just in case you don't, you can exchange them for a brand new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. The Shady Rays team always has your back with personal and fast support. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is dishing out their best deal of the season. Head over to ShadyRays.com, fill up your cart with as many awesome pair of sunglasses as you want, and then type in the promo code CHGO at checkout, and they're going to give you 35% off all your polarized sunglasses rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
A lot of people.
All right. Next.
All right, let's get back to the mailbag. And again, these come from our diehards in the CHGO Discord Lounge. Yes. We've been talking about this guy today. This comes from Nicocino, who says, heard some great stuff about AJ Spelcy from last week and the weekend. Could he have been the steal of the later rounds from this year's draft? I know you can't predict the future, etc., and this is hoping, but it seems like he picked stuff up fast as he only started playing hockey full-time in the last couple of years. Is this why a lot of teams passed on him before we decided to take the chance?
Yeah, I think Spelcy's call it unconventional hockey background when it comes to like draft prospects, I think is probably why he was a third round pick. But I mean, the raw tools are there. That was very evident through training camp or through the prospect camp, and we'll see it again through training camp. And I think when you have the physical build that he does, when you have the skating speed that he does, you can do a lot with that. And it's just going to take some time for more of the, thinking the game and, talked about this last week, like that like mechanics of everything that can still be molded. Because, you don't have a guy who's been playing hockey since he was 4 years old, right? Full time. Like you have a guy who's, as he's starting to physically mature as a late teens, into, 18, 19, 20 years old, like those mechanics can come along. So I think continuing to work with that, there's a lot of potential there. So yeah, I think that's probably why he slipped. But if things go well and he continues to develop and has a bigger role in Windsor this year and produces at a higher rate and continues to work on his speed and physicality, like yeah, you could really have a nice player who third round pick that maybe plays NHL games. Like that's a hit for sure.
Yeah, and if for a guy who, again, is a third-round pick, has come into his first camp and has stood out as one of the better players on the ice, it's noteworthy. And again, a couple of people saying that, like, not a ton of guys stood out as, like, dominant like Bedard did last year. But if you can get a guy who is that inexperienced in the system to come out and make an impression as quickly as he has, that's a good sign. I mean, it is impossible to predict what 2-3 years from now is going to show for Spellisy or any of those later round picks made in recent years, but so far so good. You like what you see, and I know just having conversations this offseason about the team is really high on him as a personality, as a kid.
Yeah,
they like him. They feel that they got a steal, and whether that means he's a contributor to the bottom six or a little bit more, and that remains to be seen. But I think they feel like they have an NHL player in AJ Spellisy, so we'll see.
All right, next up, this comes from Dead Hawk. Zooming out 4 to 6 years, what team is going to have the biggest influence, both in terms of who might get in the way, and are there any teams that somehow we might be able to leverage either strategy or players on the Blackhawks' success? So what team is going to have the biggest influence on the Blackhawks' success in 4 to 6 years? Good luck.
Well, when Vancouver steals kind of Bedard away, that's going to be a problem.
Sure, yeah.
Will be a problem, yeah.
As far as getting in the way, I mean, you look at the teams that are currently in the same boat as the Blackhawks who are trying to, like, build back up. You look at San Jose, you look at Anaheim in the Western Conference. Like, those teams are on the same trajectory. So you'd think if the Blackhawks are, their rebuild plan is coming to fruition the way that we're all hoping it to, if that happens alongside with both Anaheim and San Jose's, then you're going to have to worry about those teams down the road. Utah could be in that same boat. They're a couple steps ahead of their rebuild, but Utah could be a team that, if things continue the way that they have in the last handful of years, they're going to be a team that's up there. Colorado, I know that they're in some, they're in a win now window, but if you say 4 years, are you going to think in 4 years Colorado's in the dumpster? Absolutely not.
Nope.
So Colorado's still going to be a force. Dallas is still going to be a force. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be a cakewalk. If the Blackhawks rebuild goes well, you would think that they're going to be one of those upper tier NHL teams. Having Connor Bedard definitely helps. But it's not just going to be like, oh, okay, all these guys, a lot of these guys worked out, playing the parade, multiple cups. Like, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. I mean, the Blackhawks modern dynasty teams, yeah, they came away with 3 cups, but it wasn't easy to get through. You look at some of the teams that they beat to not only get to the final, but to overcome them. Like, it was hard. There's some difficult teams to beat. So it's, once this rebuild is over and the contention window is completely open, and the team is a playoff, perennially in the playoffs, you still have to get over the hump every year if you want to have that kind of success.
Just look at some of the great teams that we've seen in this town since 1961, the Cup before 2010. You had the Roenick, Chelios, Belfour Hawks with 3 Hall of Famers on it. Larmer, Savard, Secord, Troy Murray, no cups there. Like, you've had amazing collections of players that hit or players you acquired that worked out great for you, and you had nothing to show for it. And they're far. I mean, look at the Vancouver Canucks from the 2010s. Those teams were stacked as hell.
The Sharks.
But the Sharks, of course. But the Hawks and Kings got in their way. The Penguins got in their way. Like, it's just, it's not as simple as, hey, our rebuild worked and everybody's great. You could have a great team and never win a cup.
I mean, you could say the same thing about, when the Bulls were dominating the NBA. Look at some of those Knicks teams that never won. It's all about, are you good? You can argue, like, some of those Hawks teams didn't get cups because, in the 80s, late 80s, you had to beat Wayne Gretzky and the Oilers. Right. That wasn't going to happen. In the 90s, you made it, but then here comes
Wayne Gretzky and the Kings.
Here comes Mario Lemieux in his prime and some rookie named Jaromir Jagr that just butchers you on the ice. Yeah. As far as, like, the teams now, like, I know a lot of people, Sharks, Ducks, they're definitely on the upswing, and they've had a lot of high draft picks like the Hawks the last couple of years. both of the teams are going to have to start developing some actual defensemen before I start worrying about them long term. Like the Sharks have some nice pieces in Celebrini. You got Will Smith. I know they drafted Dickinson this year, but
Askarov in goal.
But
that's good.
Outside of Dickinson, where you got no great defensive, like that's where I give the Hawks the advantage, because outside of Connor Bedard, you could argue the next 2 or 3 best NHL prospects are defensemen.
I would say so.
Yeah.
I think you have two elite defensive prospects in Levshinov and Korchinski.
Yeah, and then as we talked about,
you've already got
Vlasic.
Vlasic.
Del Mastro. Those are your stay-at-home guys. Your Vlasic is kind of like that hybrid in between.
Right.
Will is stay-at-home first, but I think as he gets older, can be sneak in a few. Kind of like more like Brent Seabrook. You would never consider Brent Seabrook an offensive-minded defenseman, but when he wanted to,
right,
he could score some goals.
He scored
some
huge
goals.
Scored some of the biggest goals in franchise history.
Yeah.
So I think
don't forget about Sam Renzo.
Yeah, I know the Ducks have a better defensive pool than the Sharks do right now, but much like the Hawks, let's see where you can get. You've already seen some returns on the Blackhawks. Vlasic has developed into a really good NHL defenseman. Korchinski's got a year under him. You could see what the Hawks saw there. We'll see what Levshinov looks as a pro. But the Blackhawks and Kyle Davidson have obviously decided you build this championship team from the blue line out. Yes, Connor Bedard helps, but they obviously had a plan. Their plan before winning the lottery and after winning that lottery was get us a solid 6 defensemen, and we'll then skate you out of the building.
Yep.
All right, gentlemen. We have a couple more from the Discord. This one comes from Rooney.
Rooney.
This is such a first world problem, but there's no real hockey to talk about, so here goes. Why is it so damn hard to get good hockey gear? It's less than a month before the season starts, and all I can find are Bedard jerseys with the wrong collar at Dick's Sporting Goods.
Well, there's your problem. Dick's Sporting Goods, not necessarily known for their hockey equipment,
but they are known for their CHGO gear.
They do have CHGO gear, yeah. So that's a good
sneak
consolation prize if you're
good street hockey stuff at Dick's. That's about it.
Yeah, you can get that stuff if you're looking for like legitimate hockey equipment. You go to Gunzo's, you can go to
Jerry's.
Yep, you can go to
True Hockey.
True Hockey. Yeah, there's you. The thing with hockey being such a niche sport is that you have to go to niche stores. Yeah. So niche, whatever.
Niche.
Yeah. So I mean, it sucks. And when you get to those stores to get the legit hockey equipment, you're like, oh, great. Well, here's my credit card. Like, can't wait to pay this off in a couple of years. But that's unfortunately the nature of the sport. It's very expensive. And Windy City Hockey says play it against sports. If you're fine playing secondhand equipment, play it against sports is a good option. I donated my old helmet to them a couple months ago, and it's you have to go to these specialized area stores to get the best stuff. Going to just a general sporting goods store is you're probably not. This isn't Canada. Like, you're not going to find it at just those kind of retail shops.
Yeah, to get good hockey stuff, go to a store that has the word hockey in it.
Yes.
Just like if you wanted to get like good bowling equipment, you would go to a bowling pro shop, or golf. Golf you can get more stuff elsewhere, but yeah, it's not a mainstream sport, so you're not going to find great hockey sticks and skates at your average sporting goods company.
Speaking of that, it's probably a good time to mention this. The Hawks are hosting a series of Try Hockey for Free events.
Yeah.
Saturday, October 12th and Sunday, October 13th, in partnership with 27 community ice rinks across Illinois and the bordering suburbs of Indiana. Every player there'll be skate rentals available, and participants will get a jersey, a T-shirt, a hockey stick, a Sherwood hockey stick, and ticket to a Hawks game for the upcoming season.
Cool.
So go to the Hawks website, and you'll be able to find all the information there. An easy way to do it. On the top of the Blackhawks homepage, there's a tab that says Amateur. If you click on that Amateur tab, you'll see the second thing down is Try Hockey for free. 27 rinks. I know it's going to be at the HF Ice Arena out by my house. So if your kid wants to try hockey, this is a really good way to get in there and give it a chance.
Yeah.
But check out all the info on the Blackhawks
Or you can go
website.
Get some equipment there. Get a stick and a jersey.
Get a stick and a jersey. You're halfway there.
Yeah, that
It
helps.
may not fit. They might be too short, but you can still get one.
I know the Crystal Ice House in Crystal Lake, where I play my beer league games. They're also doing that event on October 12th, 13th, whatever the Sunday is. So maybe might head out there with my daughter and see if she can take to the ice.
We did the St. Jude try hockey thing with Addie, and she was like, "That was fun." No. So yeah, we gave it a shot. She was not into it, so softball it is. Fine.
Nice.
That works.
Yeah.
All right, next question comes from Alan K., who asks, how would your opinion of the Hawks rebuild and Kyle Davidson's plan be impacted by Celebrini having more goals and points than Bedard in this upcoming season? It will be Celebrini's rookie year and Bedard's sophomore season.
I mean,
if Celebrini has 130 points and Bedard has 120,
Yeah.
darn.
I don't know. I mean, that's out of Kyle Davidson's hands.
Right, they didn't win the lottery.
I don't think
so they couldn't get Celebrini.
Yeah, what Macklin Celebrini does this year will have no effect on how I view how the rebuild's going.
Yeah,
because it's not like the Blackhawks passed on Macklin Celebrini to draft someone else.
Now, if we're talking Demidov and Levchinov, that's different.
Oh, it's gonna be freaking forever.
15 years of it. Get ready, buddy.
So the day we're dead, it's gonna be Levchinov or Demidov.
I know. I can't wait. Love it. Yeah, I don't know how one really affects the other. Blackhawks had no shot at drafting Celebrini.
It's two complete different draft classes. You can't.
Yeah. And I would be willing to bet my next paycheck that Bedard has more points than Celebrini does this year.
All right, clip it.
I bet myself my next paycheck.
Okay, there you go.
No, I don't. If Bedard plays all 82 games, I don't see any world where Macklin Celebrini has more points than him.
No.
And if he does, I mean, it's
good for him.
Are you gonna be like, that stinks? You would have hoped Bedard to have more, sure. But as far as the outlook on the rebuild, I don't think it's gonna have any impact because, as we've said, ever since Bedard's been part of the organization officially, the rebuild, while a lot of it is tied to Bedard, not all of it hinges on him alone. So you'd hope that the rebuild is going in a good direction because not only is Bedard progressing, but all the young guys around him are also progressing. If that's not the case, then you have more to worry about.
All right, last one from the Discord. This comes from T-Hawks29. If you had to pick one who is the best Anthem singer, Vincent, Cornelissen, Mesmer, or other?
This is going to be more controversial than you think.
Oh, boy.
I think people are really passionate about this.
Yeah, Jim Cornelissen's great.
I like John Vincent.
John Vincent does a good job.
I love him. He does something different. Sounds great.
Wayne Messmer's lost a bit on his fastball.
I mean, the guy was shot in the neck.
Yeah,
right.
Gotta give him a little bit of credit.
No, he still could throw the heater after that.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. But he's getting up there. I love Wayne Messmer. Yeah, I mean, they're all good. They all sing better than me, so I can't criticize them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm biased towards Jim Cornelissen just because it's the guy I've experienced the most of national anthem singing. So
I've had beers with him, so I'll give it to him too.
Okay,
there you go.
I've seen him.
They're all great.
I've seen him scarf down some chicken tortilla soup about 5 minutes before singing the anthem.
Pipes lubricated, baby.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
A little spicy anthem.
Yeah, I love John Vincent. Super great guy too.
I do have a soft spot in my heart for. Remember when Pia Toscano was the?
It's not all about you, honey.
For the Kings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I tweeted out. I think it must have been during one of those playoff series. I tweeted out Pia Toscano sounds like something you'd order at an Olive Garden, and she actually retweeted it and liked it. So I was like, you know what? When you can take a step back and laugh at jokes at your own expense, you earn my respect. So Pia is my favorite anthem singer of all time.
Not Pat Foley's.
Well,
Look, honey, it's not all about you.
Pat Foley has a lot of opinions. Some good, some not so good.
He does, indeed.
When did she do the anthem?
It was an anthem. She was singing for the Kings, and she did a little more.
Yeah,
For the Kings.
yeah. It was
Spruced it up a little bit.
Yeah, a few extra notes in there.
Took some liberties with the melody.
Well, when you're in LA. Sounds back to
It's her big
okay,
moment.
let's go to Twitter now for this next question. This comes from @_Showtime. What skill expectations do you think is fair for a top 3 pick in the draft in general? For me, I think that top 3 should be able to manage to play in the NHL directly. If they play or not for their development is another question, but I'd hope they would manage if put in.
I mean, yeah, you could throw a top 3 pick into the NHL right away. Yeah, you could do that. Nothing's stopping you. But, would you rather throw a 18-year-old into the NHL just because they were a top 3 pick and have them flounder and stunt their development? Or would you rather them be able to go back and continue to work on their skills amongst peers and figure things out before you throw them to the Wolves? Yeah, I think unless you have a guy like a Bedard, like a McDavid, like a Sidney Crosby, where at 18 years old they can hang in the NHL, unless a top 3 pick is like that, there's nothing to say that they have to be in the NHL just because they were picked as top 3. Look at Kirby Dach, 3rd overall pick, thrown right into the NHL. And I'm sure hindsight is 2020, but we were all just kind of like,
Cam Barker,
maybe he could
overall.
go somewhere, go back to the WHL. But
to me, a top 3 pick as far as skill set should be an all-star at the NHL level. That's not always the case. There's been a lot of number 1 overall picks who have been busts. There's been a lot of number 2 overall picks who have been busts. There's been a lot of top 3 guys who have been okay NHL players. But to me, if you're going to invest one of the top 3 picks in the entire draft, that player should be a difference maker. Not just an NHL player, but a difference maker. And that's not always the case. It's not always the case in every sport. But that, to me, when I view, if I'm getting a top 3 guy, they should be a difference maker. They should be the best player at that position in your franchise when they're there.
I mean, you look at Levchinov, immediately becomes the Hawks' top prospect.
Right. And when he gets here, he should be the best defenseman they have.
Yes.
And an all-star. And I'm not saying he's going to be, but that's my expectations.
Right.
Those are my expectations as somebody picked that high. You're a difference maker. You're a cornerstone piece.
I just don't think that the immediate availability of said player changes that. Because I think you also have to look at it situationally, right? Like, some teams win the lottery and they're not necessarily a team that's bad or needs to have. I think Kirby Dach is a great example of that. Did the Hawks need to call up Kirby Dach when they did? No. And had Kirby Dach been drafted in 2023 and played last year, that would make a little more sense than throwing him into a team that was, at least in their minds, trying to compete.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's a case-by-case basis, but I think Greg said it best, where you're picking a guy that high, anything short of being an all-star is probably a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah.
Okay, this comes from our buddy @Scott Iowa 294048. Yay for training camp week. Thank you for helping us all get through the off season. You're welcome. Is there a dark horse candidate to make the roster? I picked Nolan Allen before the rookie camp began, and so far, so good. He looked good and was captain for the games.
That's a good dark horse choice. I mean, there was a few days last year in training camp we were like, oh, did Nolan Allen just make this team? Because Luke Richardson was throwing flowers in his direction quite a bit. That's a good call. As we've discussed a lot this offseason, the NHL roster is pretty set except for 2 spots.
Yeah.
One defensive spot and hopefully Frank Nazar at second line center.
And it's interesting too, because for the first time in a long time, that open spot is left defense. It's that second
or third left
where they've been playing for the last year or two. Nolan Allen's been playing on his offhand on the right side, because they're like, well, we're a little short on right side defenseman. We need to train a guy to do it. And now they signed TJ Brody, and they've got 4.
And they draft Levchinov.
Levchinov. So now, does Nolan Allen move back to the left side? How big of an adjustment is that? Maybe a question for Nolan Allen, but I think that's a good way to define it. A dark horse with a chance. Yeah. I mean,
another guy I'd put on that is Landon Slaggert.
Yeah.
I consider him a dark horse at this point, just because of
the bottom six is open to competition for sure.
Yeah,
like even if it's not like, oh, these spots are open, like it's open for the taking. Like it's open for competition. You know, there's nothing to say that anybody is penciled in yet just because they're here. You know, Pat Maroon and Craig Smith, they were brought in. Ilya Mikheyev is brought in, but they got to earn a spot just like the young guys do.
A lot of people talking about Ludwinski. That would be
a shock.
That'd be the darkest horse.
That's not a dark horse. That'd be a huge freaking upset.
That'd be a shock.
Not saying Ludwinski isn't capable or won't be an NHL player, but that is a guy that needs at least bare minimum one full season in the AHL before you really.
And I think he'll get it. Yeah.
I think unless he is just, blows people's minds and is unstoppable.
Yeah.
I think Ludwinski he needs that. It's very rare that you go straight from the OHL to the NHL like that. He needs to get into the AHL and learn what it's like to be pushed around by some grown-ass men and how to adjust to that and mix it up.
Yeah, the pace of play adjusts at every level, and some guys can handle that adjustment from junior or college straight into the NHL, and some guys need that extra step of like, okay, here's an AHL speed game. Here's how fast you have to make decisions at the AHL level. Here's how physical the game is before you can get into the NHL and feel more comfortable. So yeah, Ludwinski would be an amazing surprise, and that would be great for him, but I don't foresee that being the case.
All right, next up.
Quick shout out to the Hockey Center says Doc Horse. It's in the name. That's good.
Sure.
All right, Jeff Maroon, who are in your Mount Rushmore of sports broadcasters?
Okay.
Is that Pat's brother?
Okay.
Doc
Pat
Emmerich.
Foley is number one on mine.
Doc Emmerich, Pat Foley.
Are we doing hockey
he
only?
Said sports.
Sports.
Yeah.
Well, for me, all right, I think I've got my top four. Pat Hughes.
I'll say this. Are we doing strictly game broadcasters or broadcast and studio talent?
Ooh.
I'm doing game.
I'm doing
play-by-play
game
color.
play-by-play
broadcasters.
guys.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So you can't take Jack Collinsworth.
I wasn't.
Can I say something about that real quick?
Sure. By all means.
Chris Collinsworth, according to my Twitters, is maybe the least national analyst of all time. So what does NBC do? They find his literal clone, and throw him out there.
Yep.
Oh, you don't like him? Here's
another one.
Here's
in a slightly more annoying level. Less qualified.
Yes. Here's Nepo baby version of Chris Collinsworth. All right, anyway, Pat Hughes. Doc Emmerich.
Yes.
See, my fourth one is tough. Pat Foley I put up there just because that's the voice of hockey from my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And then fourth, possibly Jim Nance is very, very good.
Big game.
At what he
Sounds like a
does.
big
Jim
game.
Nance is
Hello,
great.
But I also have always loved, and I know he's been in enemy territory for a long time. He still does Big Ten games. I love when Wayne Larrivee is on the call.
Wayne
for a
Larravee's
football
good.
game.
Yeah.
Traitor. There's no doubt.
I mean, I'm
More
old enough.
arrogance from Matt Nagy.
I'm more. I'm old enough to remember when he was the Bears radio play-by-play guy.
Me too, yeah.
And then anytime you hear him on like that 11 a.m. Big Ten Iowa versus Purdue matchup, I was like, oh, Wayne Larravee's on the call. I'm going to watch.
All right, give me Foley. Give me Al Michaels because he just sounds like a big game.
Al Michaels, I forgot him.
Gary Thorne. Yeah. And John Miller, the voice of the San Francisco Giants, used to do Sunday Night Baseball.
John Miller's very
John
good.
Miller
Good
is like,
storyteller.
man, what a voice.
I mean, I would have to do one for each sport.
Yeah.
Vin Scully is one of the all-time greats.
Yeah,
Harry Carey.
Lots of votes for Harry
Jack
Carey.
Woodhouse. You got one?
I'll say Doc Emmerich, Gary Thorne, Pat Foley, and how about this for a curveball? Jim Ross.
My God, that's a great call.
He's
Hell
a
yeah.
sports.
Like
Sports
that's
guy.
Sports entertainment
Let's
broadcast.
go.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'll allow it.
Yep, that's a super good pick.
No love for Vince Scully.
I mean, Vince Scully's great.
I don't watch a lot of Dodgers baseball.
If there's a baseball one, he's on it.
Yeah, you got to do it by sport.
Yeah, he's wonderful. All right, so we're at the 30 mark. What do we do, Law?
Do a Die Hard read.
Do a Die Hard read now?
Or do you want to do two more?
It's not too late for the Die Hard read because we're
already off Roku, right?
Yeah.
It already happened. Doesn't matter.
That's all right. We had the logo.
Well, let's do a Die Hard read anyway because we haven't done one yet.
Sure.
And it is a great way to get your questions answered first on Mailbag Monday. But that's not all. You get a free shirt or hat upon sign up, or $35 off a hoodie. Lots of cool hoodies coming out. Access to all of our great written content with the season around the corner. We've got a lot coming.
Yeah.
Some stuff still in the works, too, that could be part of the Die Hard program here at CHGO Blackhawks. So make sure you check it out now. You're also going to get 20% off all of our events, our takeovers, our tailgates, all that great stuff. And that includes our upcoming event at Joe's on Weed Street for the Bears game. That's going to be good fun. We've been out there before for the draft, and it was just an amazing time. So if you're looking to get out to that, you will save on that as well. That is September 22nd from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock. It's going to be Corey Wooten, Lance Briggs, Alex Brown, Hogue, Braggs, Mark Carmen, and others are going to be out there. Law will be out there. Joe's on Weed, 940 West Weed Street.
He'll be the smiley, happy guy there, Law.
Yeah, show up. Come on.
There you go. So you'll save 20% on that, but you don't have to be a diehard to go. There are also different tiers of tickets you can buy for that. So there's the $10 general admission ticket. There's also the $65 drink package that upgrades you to all you can drink. That's Miller Lite and White Claws plus mimosas, Bloody Marys, crafted import beers, ciders, seltzers, premium mixed drinks, and soda from 11:30 to the end of the game.
Menu.
Yes.
Open bar.
Good.
So you have to be 21 or over to attend, but go to allchgo.com
That's quite the value.
for info and to save as a diehard. It's good stuff.
All right, couple quickies here before we
let's
go.
do it.
This comes from David. Will there be an app that people in the West Burbs that can't get the
only in the
CHSN
South Burbs
channel?
and the North Burbs? They're skipping the West Burbs. Sorry.
There will be an yes.
I'm sure
I
there
think
will be an
eventually
app
there will be an app.
eventually.
Yes.
Again, listen to Friday's episode. Jeff Agris had a lot of the information about the app. App is usually like down the road. Takes some time.
I also don't know why the assumption that in the West Burbs they won't be able to get it.
I don't know.
How far west are we talking? Like if you're in Downers Grove or like Schaumburg,
Des Moines.
Galena.
that's not 60 miles from the Sears Tower.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Yeah. If you have an antenna or want to try it out, go for it.
And by the way, if
you
you're-
probably are within range.
If you're nearing 60 miles west of Chicago, that is not the suburbs. I'm just going to say it.
Yes, I agree. About the network stuff, we don't know. Well,
we have
Everything we know, you know.
yes.
Zero
as soon as
inside
we
info.
find out, you find out. There's nobody withholding information from anybody here. These are questions that literally do not have answers to at this moment. Those answers can come the second we get off the air. We'll get them to you. So we don't know.
I'm withholding a ton of information. All right, this comes from Brian M. At Brian M. McLovin. Based on Nazar's weekend so far, does it seem like his chances of making the team are higher than anticipated prior to this weekend? I know it would be amazing to watch him torch the AHL with the young guns, but he really looked great. I feel like he might just make the team.
It's a good step in that direction,
Definitely
but
helps.
I would say, and some people on social media are prone to doing the opposite of this, but do not make sweeping declarations of the greatness of a prospect based off of one weekend of prospect hockey.
Yes.
Frank Nazar looked really good amongst his peers. That's a great step. Let's see him in his first NHL training camp.
I think Frank Nazar needs to leave no doubt if he's going to make this team.
Mhm.
If there's any sort of like,
What instrument does he play in that band? I didn't realize he was in that band.
he is. He replaced Gwen Stefani,
Oh, okay.
who has reached the Wilford Brimley line. Did you see that?
Well,
What?
that's all
She
right.
is now as old.
Oh,
Gwen Stefani is now as old as Wilford Brimley was in Cocoon.
Right.
How about that?
The good news is her face is only 2 years old.
That's correct. And it's updated every couple months.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that Nazar needs to leave no doubt. He has to be undeniably ready,
Mhm.
meaning he has to be dominant in pretty much every preseason opportunity he gets. He has to win every battle in camp. Like, I think if I'm putting money on it, he is starting the season in Rockford. Doesn't mean he'll finish it, but unless he is absolutely undeniable, I think he starts in Rockford.
And getting on the opening night roster and staying on the NHL roster throughout the season are two different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and of course, if, knock on wood, Jason Dickinson gets injured or Kurashev or Athanasiou gets hurt in the preseason, I'm not even going to say the other guy because I don't want to put any sort of juju towards him. Then
But to the other guys, fine.
That's a certain that's an exception. But
leave it away from
if
this.
if everything is as we hope, I think it would surprise me.
One quick thought before we go. Our buddy Cam Robinson of Elite Prospects tweeted this over the weekend. I thought it was great. Remember, folks, if your team's top prospect is looking good at the prospect tournament, he'll be a star. If he's not, he'll be a bust. Those are the only potential outcomes.
Yes,
there you
those
go.
are only two options.
Thank you, Cam.
Frank Nazar, future Hart Trophy winner.
Beautiful.
Hey.
Nice.
Good for us.
Let's go.
All right, we're going to be back tomorrow at 2:30. We should probably start doing some Central Division preview stuff, shouldn't we?
Screw them.
Screw those guys.
Who cares?
Hey, who cares? Good point.
Blackhawks are going to win the division and the cup.
Yes.
There's
That's
your
exactly
preview.
right.
What happens when you go 82, 98, no. Hey, Connor
98.
Bedard, 98.
Oh, yeah, 16. Yeah.
There you go. You heard it here
we're,
first.
98,
we're also
no.
going to do
And
some
last.
NHL 25 stuff this week, I know, because they're releasing the top wingers, top defensemen, top
No
centers.
Blackhawks yet.
Not yet. Hopefully we get one of those centers. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But stick with us. We're back tomorrow at 2:30. Thanks for being here. On your way out, please hit that like button.
Sidney Crosby signed his extension. We didn't mention
Oh,
that.
yeah. Sidney Crosby.
8.7 million.
Again. It'll be 19 straight years that he's made 18.7 million.
Yep. I heard on
Let's get
32
Bedard,
Thoughts.
let's get Bedard to change his number to like 11. Yeah. Yeah.
What's the
1.1
lowest
million.
number that's available? 5?
Man, he should have gone with 16. Damn it.
If only.
Oh.
1.6 million for his career.
But I heard Elliot Friedman last week say that Sidney Crosby is not interested in two things. He does not want to screw the Penguins over cap-wise, and he does not want to have a contract that's going to restrict them if he sucks in 2 years.
That's smart.
So he signed a 2-year deal and said, let's see where I'm at in 2 years and revisit it. Maybe another 8.7 coming my way. But he just doesn't want to be one of those guys that eventually just can't play anymore.
Pound for pound, do you think he's going to go down as one of the most underpaid, quote-unquote, GOATs,
He already is.
like, across all sports?
He already is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
19 years at $8.7 million for a guy that for a good chunk of that 19 years was the best player on the planet. Yeah. He already is. Probably already is the most underpaid.
Well, yeah, total dollars, I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, if percentage of cap or whatever.
I think he already wins that title.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone even close.
Yeah. I know Tom Brady took some pay cuts in his time, but
But then you get massive like signing bonuses and like those sort of things to
yeah, I mean, it's structured
And all
differently
those
in the NFL.
stupid commercials he's in.
Yeah, tons of endorsements.
selling his magic water.
Tom Brady made more than 1 year than Sidney Crosby's made his entire career.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure he's still making that
Even
much
in
money.
his lowest paid season, he probably made more money than
Yeah.
Sidney Crosby ever has.
All right.
Anyways,
We're back tomorrow, 2:30. Hit the like for us. Looks like a bunch of people did. Thank you. See you tomorrow at 2:30 right here on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.